Hello, hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the screen? Is it clear to you? Is it visible? When is your exam, by the way? Any one of you can unmute yourself and answer. When is your internal exam? Internal exam time.
26.
When is it? Starting from 26.
Yes, ma'am.
When is the last exam?
30.
Okay, so 26 to 30, you will not be having any practicals. So that's why I asked you. So it's starting from 26th onwards till 30th.
Ma'am, lectures will be there.
I don't think even lectures will not be there. Normally, that is the procedure. We don't keep any lectures. We don't keep any practicals. But sometimes certain teachers wanted to finish the syllabus, means they may keep it. So I cannot give a general opinion about that. So 26 it is starting. That way we will be missing one Saturday lecture. My lecture, paper 2, unit 2. So let us see if there is any notice from principal sir, or like we can engage the lectures even on the class test, which is something unusual. Then we will see what to do. Otherwise, that is exclusively for your test those days from 26 to 30th. There will not be any practical program. So today's practical will be there for some of your A division students after this. So I'll be engaging that also continuously. Okay. Now, without wasting much time, we will go into the theory part of it. When is this paper 2? Any idea? Chemistry paper 2.
Wednesday.
27. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Good. Thank you for that information. So, the last class we have seen oxidation states, the metallic properties, non-metallic properties, the various oxidation states that we completed last class. So you have to study everything in detail. What is the common oxidation state for 13, for 14, for 15, 16, and of course for the halogen group 17. With that, we finished it. And for 18, group 18, it is having a complete configuration. They don't have any tendency to lose or gain electron. Then we also saw what is electronegativity, definition of electronegativity, and how it is related to the size of the atom. And of course, other some details regarding positive oxidation state. That is, an element in its more positive oxidation state has a greater tendency to take up electrons, so shows a higher electronegativity. That was one relation between oxidation state of any element and the electronegative nature of it. Similarly, hybridization of a central atom in a molecule. What hybridization it shows? It can be either sp hybridization or sp2 or sp3. And depending upon the hybridization, its electronegativity is going to vary. If that central atom in a molecule is having sp hybridization, it will have greater electronegativity compared to another central atom in a different molecule which shows sp2 hybridization. So it is like that, relationship between electronegativity and hybridization of central atom. So please read all these things thoroughly. Any MCQ question may come from these things. So we have finished till this in the last Saturday class. Now today we will see the anomalous behavior. So this anomalous behavior you have to study for all the elements. So let us, all the elements means I will just show you in the periodic table which are those elements. Say for example, this is your periodic table. Now our chapter talks about S block and P block elements. So here again, anomalous behavior means the meaning is some unique behavior, some totally different behavior from the other members of the same group. Say for example, if you take group 1, this series, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium, out of all this, Lithium, which is the first member in the group 1, will show a unique behavior, a different behavior. Similarly, in the group 2, beryllium element, which is the first element in this entire group, is going to show a different behavior. So you should read anomalous behavior of lithium, similarly anomalous behavior of beryllium, anomalous behavior of boron, anomalous behavior of carbon, similarly for anomalous behavior of nitrogen, oxygen, and fluorine. Why anomalous? Because they are all the first members in their respective groups, and they are all going to have small size compared to the other members of the group, all of them. Size is small, being the first member. And as you go down the group, size is going to increase. Because of this small size, all these elements, so they all are in the period, second period, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. So we have to study all the elements of this second period, their anomalous behavior. This is what is our syllabus about for today. So there will be around 6 to 7 properties maximum points when we study the anomalous behavior of each element. So you should by heart all those 6 points or 7 points, whatever it is given. Any one can come as an MCQ. So let us move into that detail. So now you understand anomalous behavior means a different behavior from the other elements of the same group. So let us see what is given here. So the anomalies in the behavior of the second period elements. I showed you in the periodic table what are those elements occupying the second period in the periodic table. This anomalous behavior arises due to 4 points, 4 reasons. One is all of them have small size. Second one is all of them do not have any d orbitals. They will have electrons in their s orbital and p orbital, but they will not have any electrons in their d orbital. No d orbital. So non-availability of d orbital. Then second one, because of their small size, they have high polarizing power. And polarizing power of the cation. So when they form a cation, they show a high polarizing power. When they form an anion, certain elements like fluoride anion, it forms only anion. Oxygen forms an anion, O2 minus most commonly. So if the element has a tendency to form anion, it will have low polarizability. Whereas lithium and the other member, the next member, what is that we are talking? Beryllium, all those things, they have the ability to form cations. So in case of those elements, they form cations, they show high polarizing power. So some of them has a tendency to form cations, some of them have tendency to form anion in our second group, or I'm sorry, in our second period. So when they form cation, they exhibit high polarizing power. And when they form anions, when we talk about the elements forming anions, they have low polarizability. So this is also one of the reasons why they show anomalous behavior. And second is density of the elements. Of course, all of them are going to have a very low density because of their low mass. Mass is going to be low. And correspondingly, their density also will be low. So this can be the reason. So this can be the reason for the anomalous behavior exhibited by all the elements present in the second period.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Can you please explain the third point with the help of example?
Yes. What do you mean by a cation? Say for example, 1 minute, please. Hello. Good morning, Neelam. I am in my lecture now. The FY lecture is going on. I will call you afterwards. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye. 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 No problem. Bye. So what do you mean by high polarizing power? See, this meaning of polarizing and polarizability comes when you talk about the electron cloud. Now this is, we are actually shifting away from the syllabus. Anyhow, since you asked, I am explaining it to you. You imagine an atom. How is that atom? You have a nucleus in the center, you have the electron around it. And all these electrons are spinning properly in a proper orbitals. Now, this cation is going to be like that. It has a nucleus, it has the electrons around it, and it's a positively charged ion. Now, when it is going to come near to an anion, what happens is, anion, because of the electrons, which are rich in the anions, they are going to pull this cation electron cloud towards itself. As a result of it, what happens, that orbital shape or the electron movement around the positive nucleus in the cation, that symmetry is going to be lost. And the symmetry, the electron cloud of the cation will be just pulled towards the anion. So this is called as polarization. So first you should understand what is polarization. Who is that student who asked this question?
My name is Pranit madam.
I can't get you.
I asked that question, ma'am.
Okay, Pranit. Pranit
Yes.
has asked. Okay, fine. So Pranit, first you should understand what is the meaning of polarization. You have a positively charged nucleus in the center surrounded by the electrons which are symmetrically moving around the nucleus, positively charged nucleus. But when a cation is encountering an anion during the bond formation, the anion, because of its high charge density, will pull the electron cloud of the cation towards itself, thereby disturbing its symmetry. So when this disturbance in the symmetry of the electron arrangement around the cation happens, this phenomenon is called as polarization. Now, always the cations, we express the ability of the cations to undergo polarization as its polarizing power. And similarly, when the anion is trying to polarize it, it is the ability of the anion to polarize the cation. So we always use the word polarizability. So these are the two words. When you talk with reference to anion, it has the ability to polarize the cation. When you talk about the cation, it has the ability to get polarized. That is polarizing power of the cation. So what is ultimately this polarization? Removal of symmetry of the moving electrons. It is not associated with that particular ion. It is pulled towards the other ion, anion ion, and there is a loss in the symmetry. That is the meaning of polarization. So cations are always referred, when polarization happens to the cation, it is called its polarizing power. When the polarization is done by the anions, it is called as polarizability. Now, coming to this third point, these are all the basic understandings I have explained to you. Now, let us come to the point 3, and with reference to that, now let me explain. High polarizing power of the cation. So usually our best cations like lithium, sodium, all these things, which are in the very good cations or very good metals, which can form cations easily. First one is lithium. And in the next period, the element in that same period next comes is beryllium. So these are all going to be very good cations, or in other words, they are the good metals, and their ability to undergo polarization is very high. So these cations are said to possess high polarizing power. Now, what is the next cation which can form? Lithium and beryllium are the good ones with high polarizing power. Move to the next period. So move to this next element in the same period. So let me show the... Now, among the P block, as you move towards from boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, their polarizing power of the cation is comparatively less. Lithium, good metal, so it has a high polarizing power. Beryllium also is a very good metal compared to other elements of the group, so it also has a high polarizing power. But when you move in the P block, you find they all have the tendency to form this boron 3+ it can form. It also shows a little bit of polarizing power. But carbon, nitrogen onwards will be less, whereas it starts showing polarizability from oxygen and fluorine. Oxygen forms anion only, O2-. When O2- is formed, this O2- has the tendency to pull the electron from a nearby cation. So it has its ability to polarize that cation. So we call polarizability. But what happens is the polarizability is going to be lesser in this case of ions. So that is the reason all the elements which are in this second period will either show a high polarizing power or they show low polarizability. And that is the reason I think we have details of polarizing power and polarizability later on when we talk about Fajan's rule, that is in your second semester. If you want to know about it, you can refer it under any textbook under the heading Fajan's rule that talks about the polarizability. Okay. So let us now come to the anomalous behavior. So the 4 points responsible for the ion to show anomalous behavior are: one is its small size, one is non-availability of d orbital, other one is when it is going to be a cation, when it is always these cations, they have a tendency to form hard acids, and anions have the tendency to form hard bases. So these cations will show high polarizing power, and if it is an anion, they will show a low polarizability. So that can be the reason for the anomalous behavior. Compared to this, polarizing power or polarizability is a comparative statement. Compared to the other members, the first member will show high polarizing power. That you should say it in a proper sentence. Second is the density of the first members. So always the first member in the group is showing anomalous behavior. So based on these 4 conditions, let us see how it is applicable for lithium. So the unusual characters of lithium compared to the other elements in the group is because of the following reasons. One reason is, as we all told, they all have the same size. That's the reason, main reason for showing anomalous behavior. Lithium also has very small size. Because of its small size, its charge density is very high. And this is the point which makes lithium different from other members in the group 1. And another thing is, not only the small size and high charge density, its lattice energy is also very high. What is the lattice energy? Energy which is liberated when lithium is going to combine with an anion and form a lithium compound. So that time, some amount of energy is liberated to form a stable lithium compound. So that energy is the lattice energy, which is going to be high for lithium compared to other members in its group. And it is also going to have a high hydration and ionization energy. So these are some of the unique properties of lithium, which are not shown by other members in its group. Now, one more different property is potassium, rubidium, cesium, which is all there in group 1. They are all miscible with sodium, but lithium is not miscible. It is going to be immiscible. This is one different behavior. Another different behavior is lithium salts are all less soluble, whereas sodium salts, potassium salts are nicely soluble. Sodium chloride, highly soluble. Potassium chloride, highly soluble. Whereas lithium chloride is not so soluble. So salts of lithium are less soluble. And another unique property of lithium is when it combines with the nitrogen and form lithium nitride. It can form lithium nitride. Whereas sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, they cannot form such nitrides when they combine with nitrogen. So these are some of the special properties of lithium. We can call them as anomalous properties. And when you talk about polarizing power, coming back to the point 3, lithium, imagine lithium ion, Li+. Li+ is lithium ion. Lithium ion has a high polarizing power. That means it can polarize the another anion when it is going to form a bond. So normally when it has a high polarizing power, it tends to form covalent bonds. Because what happens is it pulls the electron towards itself. Whenever there is a high polarizing power exhibited by an ion, it will tend to form a covalent bond. What do you mean by ionic bond? Ionic bond means complete transfer of electrons from one ion to another ion. One will donate electron, the another will take away electron, then both the ions are separated without any polarization between them. They form ions, and then there is an ionic bond, which is the electrostatic force holding the ions together. But when the question of polarization comes, it is actually pulling up of the electron towards itself. In that case, the electrons are not completely transferred to the other ion, or it is not completely moved to another element. It is just a cloud of electrons which are being pulled towards other ion and gets shared between two ions, resulting in the formation of a covalent bond. So the question of polarizing ability or the polarizing power comes especially when they form a covalent bond. So that now you can understand lithium compounds. Lithium has a tendency to form covalent bonds. Similarly, beryllium also has a tendency. Beryllium chloride is an example of a covalent bond. Lithium chloride has a tendency, it's a covalent bond. So you can relate the nature of covalent bond formation with this point, polarizing power and polarizability. Similarly, oxygen, ion, anion, it forms a covalent bond with hydrogen and form water. Fluoride ions, HF, is a covalent bond between hydrogen and fluorine. So all the first members of the groups or the members of the second period, they are all showing that covalent bond forming nature. Okay, so this is all the properties of anomalous behavior. You will get question like this. Point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were very important. MCQ pattern, it can be asked like this. Pick out the element which can form nitrides on combining with nitrogen. Lithium, potassium, beryllium. No, beryllium will not be there. Lithium, potassium, francium, cesium. Which of them will form nitride? Only lithium forms. So like that, MCQs can come from all these 6 points. You have to remember these 6 points thoroughly. Okay. So we have quite a big option available for us in framing MCQ questions from the anomalous behavior properties. Wide choice is available for the teachers to frame questions. Now let us move on to the next one, anomalous behavior of beryllium. Beryllium being the first member in group 2, because after beryllium you have magnesium, calcium, strontium, francium, and radium. So all these are the elements placed below beryllium. So beryllium being the first member is always, we all know it will have small size. And this small size of the beryllium is also responsible for its high electronegativity. And because of these main properties, beryllium is showing anomalous behavior. So what are all its anomalous behavior? Points are given. 9 points are there by which beryllium can exhibit its anomalous behavior. Let us see all those 9 points. First point, beryllium is not affected by dry air and not even by boiling water. It is quite stable because it has a closed configuration. 1s2, 2s2, completely filled s orbital can remain stable. You cannot make it react even in the boiling water condition or even by exposing it to dry air. It remains unaffected. Very important point. Then next is, here comes its polarizability property. Compounds of beryllium with oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, chlorine, etc., they are all covalent in nature. Whereas other members in its group, what are the other members? Magnesium, calcium, strontium, francium, radium, all of them. Did I say, 1 minute, let me check. I'm saying something wrongly here. What did I say? I said francium. Francium comes in group 1. Lithium, beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, radium. Instead of barium, I somehow said francium. No. So all these elements of beryllium, when you see, beryllium alone forms covalent compounds, whereas the other things, when they combine with oxygen, when they combine with sulfur, they are all forming ionic compounds. The reason for this, the high polarizing power of the beryllium cation. That is only is responsible for forming covalent molecules of beryllium. Okay. Let us see once again. So beryllium is not affected by dry air and boiling water. Beryllium combines with oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, chlorine and form covalent compounds, whereas the other members in the series form only ionic compounds. And beryllium, when you do flame test, do not impart any color to the flame, whereas calcium, strontium, barium, this you must have done in your salt analysis in 12th standard. You must have studied. Calcium gives a brick red flame. Calcium salt. Strontium salt will give crimson color flame. Barium salt will give apple green color flame. All these elements which are there below barium in the series, they exhibit color to the flame, but beryllium salts will not give color to the flame. Next is when beryllium salts or when beryllium is going to react with the sodium hydroxide, it forms a salt, sodium berylate, and it will liberate hydrogen gas. But all the other members in the series, they will not do so very easily. They can react with acid, but they cannot react with alkali. Beryllium has the ability to react with alkali and liberate hydrogen gas. So remember this point. Next point is oxides. When you talk about oxide of beryllium, whether it is hydroxide or oxide, beryllium oxide, beryllium hydroxide, they are all amphoteric in nature. Amphoteric means they will exhibit acidic properties sometimes, they can behave as bases sometimes. So they show both the nature. Whereas other members in this group, which are there below beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, radium, etc., those oxides are very specifically basic in nature. The next property is beryllium do not form any peroxides, whereas other elements in the group can form peroxide. Another point is beryllium will not liberate hydrogen from acid. See here, beryllium is liberating hydrogen from alkali. It will like this, it will not liberate hydrogen when it reacts with acid. But other members, they can easily liberate hydrogen when they react with acids. So that is also another property. Next property is beryllium when it combines with the nitride, they are all volatile. Volatile means they just evaporate. Whereas other members, when they form nitrides, they are non-volatile. And beryllium salts always have 4 water molecules of crystallization. It has some water molecules. That is, it becomes hydrous. And maximum capacity is it can take 4 water molecules with it. Whereas others, see here, beryllium salts has never more than 4 water molecules of crystallization because it has only 4 electrons in the valence shell. Whereas the other elements, they are able to take more than 4 water molecules of crystal. Magnesium can take up to 7 water molecules of crystallization. But beryllium has only ability to take 4 water molecules to it. So that means it can absorb, it gets hydrated, and its formula maximum is 4H2O. That's all. Magnesium sulfate and all will have 7H2O in its formula. That means it can take 7 water molecules of crystallization. So these are some of the 9 points are given. These are some of the unique points which fit only for beryllium. And this is the way beryllium is different from other members on the given group. Okay. Is it clear for you, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So these points has to be by heart, kept by heart by you all. So that any question comes, you should be able to write. There is no other option. You have to remember, read it again and again and understand it and should be able to reproduce it when the exam comes. So these are nothing but facts. So you have to accept the facts and you have to remember them. Now next comes our anomalous behavior of boron. Good. Boron has only 4 properties to remember and carbon is also having only 4 properties. So it is easy. Not many. Lithium and beryllium were only having 7 points and 8 points. That is because of the unique nature of lithium and beryllium. Both of them are good metals, extremely good metals. So that is the reason they have more physical properties and more chemical properties. Whereas boron, has some unique properties. Boron is very small in ionic radius, and B3 plus is only hypothetical. In nature, actually, B3 plus compounds do not exist. They exist as a dimer. So you have not seen BH3. Boron, when it loses 3 electron, forms B3 plus. But this B3 plus compounds are not there. It is only hypothetical. Have you seen BH3? No, BH3 is not possible. Rather, it forms B2H6. B2H6 is called diborane. And this diborane chemistry we are going to read in detail in our SYBSc, second year. So why it forms a diborane? Due to stability reasons. BH3 is not stable. Somehow or other, it tends to take up electrons, and somehow it will manage to form a stable molecule, which is B2H6. But this B2H6 is also not very stable. It does not have required number of electrons. It is electron deficient compound. But even then, somehow it manages to exist as a stable molecule. It is electron deficient, so we give it a name Lewis acid. So these are all some exceptional properties of boron compound. So whenever you think about boron, you should remember one point: it has a small size. Second point is it forms a compound like B2H6, which is electron deficient. When it is an electron deficient compound, we give a name to it. It acts as a Lewis acid. So these are very important words related to boron. So having this at the back of our mind, let us see what points are given here. Boron has small ionic radius. Hypothetical B3 plus does not exist. Reason is it is very small in size and has a high charge density. And valence shell of boron has 3 electrons, 2s2, 2p1. So its compound, whatever compound it forms, it has a nature to accept electrons because the p orbitals are vacant. Only 1 electron is there. So it has a greater tendency to accept electrons. So as a result of it, whenever electron is accepted, it is called as a Lewis acid. It behaves as a Lewis acid. All the compounds of boron, they behave as Lewis acid. So they accept electron from a Lewis base. And finally, they form a very stable compound, complex. They form a stable complex, or you can even call it as a stable compound. And boron has a tendency to show in this compound, when they are forming a Lewis acid like B2H6, they have a covalent bond. They have a tendency to form 4 covalent bonds. It can form only 3 bonds. It has only 3 electrons in the outer shell, but somehow it manages to form 4 bonds. So from that itself, you can understand one bond should be devoid of electrons. Some way it is managing with its neighboring electron, picking up that electron, and it is forming a coordinate bond and manages to form 4 covalent bonds. So boron shows a maximum of 4 covalent bonds. It has only 3 electrons, but 4 covalent bonds. That is the reason it is an electron deficient compound, or it behaves as a Lewis acid. While other elements in the group 13, the elements which are below boron, they can form up to 6 covalent bonds. And the boron does not show inert pair effect. This we studied. What is inert pair effect? That is, it is having 2s2, 2p1. It will lose all these 3 electrons together. But in case there are certain elements which will lose only the p electron, and the 2 electrons of the s2 will remain inert, and this pair of electrons remaining inert and losing only 1 electron, then that is called as inert pair effect. But boron will not show that inert pair effect. It will lose all the 3 electrons. So you can say anomalous behavior of boron as it will not show inert pair effect. So thus, these are the 4 points which are characteristic for boron, and therefore they become the anomalous behavior of boron. Now let us see what is it with reference to carbon. So hope you understand about boron. Small size, B3 plus does not exist. It is only hypothetical. If at all, it will exist as a diborane, a dimer. And when it forms a dimer, it will form a covalent bond, 4 covalent bond. Of course, one covalent bond will be without an electron. So therefore, it is an electron deficient compound and act as a strong Lewis acid. So because it's a strong Lewis acid, it will combine with another Lewis base and form a stable compound. And boron do not show any inert pair effect. So these are all the 4 anomalous properties. Now let us go to carbon. So carbon, here there is some mistake in this sentence. So I am just skipping it. Carbon belongs to group 14. This is correct. Carbon, it has 8 electrons in its penultimate shell. This is wrong. No, this sentence has to be changed. I will change this. Let us move on to the properties only. Carbon is a non-metal. So in the series, the 14th group, carbon is the first metal. Then below that, silicon is there, germanium, tin, lead. All these are the elements. So out of all these elements in that group 14, carbon exhibits a non-metallic nature. Of course, we know silicon can be used in a semiconductor. So chances are there, they all show some metalloid properties. Germanium, tin and lead are very good. Of course, leaving germanium, tin and lead are good metals. So silicon, germanium, these crystals are prepared, they are used in semiconductor devices. So you have a non-metal, you have metalloid, you have metals. All properties are present in group 14. Out of that, carbon being the first metal, first element is a very good non-metal. And +4 is a common oxidation state exhibited by all these elements of group 15. But apart from the +4, germanium, tin and lead will show +2 also due to that inert pair effect. So inert pair effect, the 2 electrons are only lost, then they show +2 state. When they are going to lose all the 4 electrons, they show +4 state. So inert pair effect is exhibited by germanium, tin and lead. Carbon will not show inert pair effect. It will share all the 4 electrons with the other members and form covalent bonds. That is the unique property of carbon. They form covalent bonds by sharing all the 4 electrons. Carbon, which is available in its outermost shell. Now all the oxides of carbon, whether it is carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide, they are all going to be acidic in nature. Why acidic? Because when it combines with water, it leads to the formation of an acid. It is acidic in nature. Whereas germanium, tin, lead, etc., they form their oxides which are amphoteric. Sometimes they behave as acids, sometimes they behave as bases. They exhibit both the properties, but oxides of carbon are acidic. So this is an anomalous behavior. Next is carbon is forming acid. Name some acids formed by carbon means you can say acetic acid, you can say oxalic acid, anything like that, some organic acids. Whereas germanium, tin and lead will not form such acids. They don't have the capacity to form oxalic, acetic acid, etc. Please mute yourself. Some of you are unmuted. So these are the 4 properties which can be an evidence to say that carbon exhibits anomalous behavior. So you have to remember these 4 points. We have a last point is very important. Oxalic acid formula COOH twice. Acetic acid formula CH3COOH. Instead of that acetic acid, instead of that oxalic acid, imagine you are substituting carbon with germanium or tin. You don't get any acid. So that is what is the point number 4. Okay, so carbon is forming COOH twice. Like that, germanium doesn't form GeOOH twice. No. And similarly, tin also do not form. So that unique property of carbon is put under this anomalous behavior. Next is anomalous behavior of, what is the next element? After carbon, nitrogen. Let us see that. I skipped something. 1 minute. Nitrogen. So anomalous behavior of nitrogen. So we have seen lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon. These four elements in our second period is done. Now you are left with nitrogen, oxygen, and fluorine. Three are there. So let us finish nitrogen alone, and then we will conclude. See, nitrogen is in the group 14, and the elements which are below it are phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, bismuth. These are the elements which are below it. From that only you can say nitrogen is having small size, nitrogen is non-metal, whereas bismuth is a metal. At the bottom group element, bismuth is 100% metal. And of course, phosphorus, non-metal in nature. Arsenic can be used as an impurity for semiconductors, adding a pentavalent impurity. So certain metalloid nature is also shown. And antimony, okay, it's a metal. And bismuth is a very good metal. So these are all the nature of group 14 elements. And out of that, nitrogen being the first element, it has a small size, it has a high electronegativity nature, and there are no d orbitals available for it. Even phosphorus also, when it is able to form some compounds, it will tend to borrow the neighboring d orbital which are vacant, and it can shift its electron into a vacant d orbital and can form compounds. Phosphorus can do that, but nitrogen cannot do that. Nitrogen is having the electrons in 1s2, 2s2, and 2p3. That's all. It can have vacant p orbitals. It will not that way. D orbitals, even vacant d orbitals, are not near its reach, whereas phosphorus can make use of vacant d orbitals. So that is the main difference of nitrogen from other members. It is having small size. It does not have any approach to the vacant d orbitals also. It cannot make use of vacant d orbitals also. And nitrogen is comparatively highly electronegative than other members in its group. So three important aspects of nitrogen. Now in nature, there are also certain unique properties for nitrogen. It can be present as a nitrogen gas. It can exist in free state. And similarly, as I told you, it cannot make use of any vacant d orbital near it. There is no nearby d orbitals. It is somewhere away from nitrogen, because nitrogen is having atomic number of only 7. So it has to still move further. Phosphorus 15 can somehow approach the nearby vacant d orbitals, but nitrogen cannot. So as a result of that, some ability in forming certain compounds are less for nitrogen. Non-availability of d orbital, it does not form complexes, whereas other elements can make use of vacant d orbitals which are near it and can form complex. Now nitrogen has a covalency of only 4, while other elements can go up to 5 covalent bonds, can form up to 5 PCl5. Example, antimony, bismuth, and can also form 5 covalent bonds, whereas nitrogen ability is restricted only till 4 covalent bonds. Nitrogen is a gas at room temperature, we all know, whereas the other elements, they are all solids, they exist as solids. Nitrogen is a diatomic molecule, while other elements can form tetraatomic molecule. Nitrogen has the ability to form N3 minus. There are certain organic compounds where nitrogen forms this azide ion, N3 minus ion is possible in organic compounds where nitrogen exists with a 3 minus oxidation state. This is because of its small size and high electronegativity nature. Whereas this kind of oxidation state is not exhibited by any other elements in its group. If at all, lesser tendency can be shown by phosphorus, and other elements do not form such ion at all. Then another important property is catenation property. Of course, nitrogen can combine with another nitrogen. It is maximum for nitrogen only, but having up to 8 nitrogen atom is known. In case of other elements, catenation is only till 2 atoms. Only it forms a diatomic element like catenation. It can combine with other element. That's all. One more other element. One more element of its type. Whereas nitrogen can show a catenation up to maximum 8 atoms, but very rare. This is very rare property. Okay. So these are all the anomalous behaviors of nitrogen. So I am stopping the lecture here. It will be around. This is for oxygen. We will finish this in the next class. You keep reading. This is uploaded in the Google Classroom. We have to discuss what can be the syllabus for our internal exam. So that should be discussed with all the 3 divisions. We don't know how the other divisions are progressing. Though I am taking it for the C division, I don't know about B division. So A, B, C, all of them should have covered up to some level. So we will keep that in mind and then set the syllabus for our internal exam. So syllabus will be declared to you soon. But anyhow, we are going to include metallic, non-metallic, and electronegativity property. Only in anomalous behavior, we have some little confusion up to what level we have to keep. So that will be decided soon. That is not your problem. This has been uploaded in the Google Classroom. So you all have to start preparing for it. Okay. So now
Yes,
that
ma'am.
I have completed till anomalous behavior of nitrogen, please start preparing till nitrogen at least. Because next Saturday we can meet. Next Saturday is 23rd. We can meet. And from 26th will be your internal exam. 27th is your exam. So I can include up to 23 also. Chances are there. And B division, they will be missing some lectures because of the holidays. 19th is again a holiday. So we don't know how B division people, if they keep any extra lecture and finish off, they will overtake you. So I cannot guarantee till what syllabus people will be completing. So better keep your mind prepared that we are having till anomalous behavior of nitrogen. Okay, is it clear? And then keep studying so that you will not have any shock at the last minute. So now that there are going to be 37 participants, 36 participants are here in today's lecture. All students, please listen. You have to study for paper 2, unit 2. Other units will also be there in your paper 2. Please read the corresponding notes sent by the teachers. Don't miss anything, though we are not meeting offline. Online, I could not meet you all. So whatever instruction has been given through the Zoom meeting, please remember them properly. Without wasting time, start preparing. So we are starting from this slide. Understand what are main group elements, what are representative elements, what is group 1, group 2, and the P block, which are called main block elements. Then read about the metallic nature, non-metallic nature with all examples given in that. All the points given. What are the 4 properties exhibited by any element which is supposed to be a metal? That is these 4 properties. Read them properly. Then read them about the oxidation state. What is this oxidation state definition? And all the various oxidation states are given in the tabular column. Have a wide knowledge about this oxidation states. Then in detail, how group 1 exhibits oxidation state. Regarding group 1 and group 2, there is no problem. They will exhibit only +1. Group 1 will exhibit and group 2 will exhibit only +2. No variable oxidation state. Variable oxidation states are shown by the P block elements. There again, inert gas effect becomes important. So this slide, detailed explanation of 13, 14 and 15, 16, all these are very important. 15, 16, you have to remember each and every examples which are given here. Okay, so any type of MCQ may come. Group 17, group 18, nothing is there, simple. So this 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, you have to pay more attention and understand it properly in the oxidation state. And this one is about the electronegativity. Nothing much is given in this slide. What is the definition for electronegativity and how atomic size, oxidation state, hybridization are affecting, how they are related to the electronegativity. That's all. And anomalous behavior, only thing is you have to remember these points. 4 points or 8 points, whatever is given till nitrogen, keep reading it. Boron, carbon, 4 points, and nitrogen is having 7 points. That's all. So till this, be sure, keep revising again and again. Then we will meet in the next class. Okay? Some chat is there. 37 students, I will mark the attendance. You need not have to worry about it. Somebody, Pranit is asking, please repeat the name of the chapters that you are teaching. Pranit, it is all uploaded in the Google Classroom. So please join the Google Classroom. And it is in the order of the slides I am showing. The very first slide is going to give your syllabus. This is giving your syllabus in detail. And we are now somewhere here, anomalous behavior. We are now studying that. So there should not be any problem if you are present in my lecture and if you are listening to my lecture. Okay?
Ma'am,
Yes.
can you please send me the Google Classroom link?
Okay, you have not got it? Okay,
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
send it. I'll send it to you. I will type it here in the chat only. Huh? For everyone, those who have not joined, you can just see the meeting now. I am just seeing, referring and then sending it. Just wait for a minute. FY BSc A division. D V F G D V F G B 77. Okay, this is your code. So those who have not joined the Google Classroom can join with this class code. I have typed the class code DVFGB77. Please join. Okay. So you can take a break. We will join for the practicals. Those who are having practicals. 1 to 52 has practicals, I think, A division. I'll meet you in the practicals. Okay. Bye all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.